Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. We're on the back half of a great episode. Before we jump into that episode, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. Welcome back. As I talked about earlier, we're in the second half of a great episode by Ben Hardy on a morning routine that will save you 20 hours per week. Now, I personally know that I can't save 20 hours per week using all of these techniques. I just don't have enough time, whether it's my kids, my wife, pets, family, you name it. Something is always coming up, and sometimes it's even work that's slowing me down. With that said, we encourage you to take a look at these tips and make them yours. Understand how you could save yourself maybe an hour a week, or maybe 2 hours a week, but incorporating these little things in to make this more yourself, and understand that there is no perfect world where there's no distractions, there's no other things in your life that are coming up. Let's jump into the second half of Ben's tips. Tip number 1, and we talked about this last time, not working out first thing in the morning. Instead, try a late morning, early afternoon workout to re-energize yourself. Why does this work? Well, research confirms that your workouts are actually better when you have food in your system. So if you've already eaten breakfast or a late morning snack or an early lunch, getting a chance to work out is a perfect time for you to work and get the most out of your workout. Additionally, what happens is that gives your body and your mind a mental break from the day in and day out of just grinding through your workday. And it should provide you with a good mental break so that you're ready to come back and finish that second half or the back half of the day in a good fashion where your mind is sharp and ready to go. Tip number 2, protect your mornings. And again, we talk about this all the time. Single parents, this might be harder for you because you have to take care of your children and there's nothing else you can do and you can't protect your mornings. But there are certain things you can do in the workday to protect your mornings, and that is block off time so that you don't have morning meetings. Try not to schedule that first thing meeting with your team, or if your team has that, ask them to move it to late in the morning, early afternoon. Morning meetings, believe it or not, are probably the least productive time for you and least productive use of your energy because you're focused on your team as opposed to focused on your projects and goals. Also, limit yourself and limit your time on social media and email in the morning. Save those for later in the day unless it's absolutely necessary that you need to do it. Remember, that morning is the most productive time that you have in the day. Even if you can't protect 3 hours, try to protect 1 hour or 90 minutes because what you will find is that you will have the most productive time and have more time later in the day to answer and do those mundane tasks. Tip number 3, we need to make smart eating choices throughout the day. And it's very important to understand that there's a mind-body connection that we have in terms of what we eat and how we produce from a work standpoint. When we think about it, garbage in, garbage out. If we eat a lot of junk food, a lot of sugary foods, we're going to go really high and then really low in terms of how our bodies and our minds are thinking and not really feel well. But you really need to focus on managing your energy. Eating healthy foods is going to let you manage your energy and your time. I know plenty of people say, well, I just need a shot of sugar or a shot of caffeine to get me going. But again, we want to avoid that big energy burst and then that crashing down afterwards. Yeah, there are times where we're going to need it, but if you can manage your focus in terms of what you eat and what you put into your system, it will give you a longer term in terms of overall focus throughout the day and in terms of how your energy and your mind is able to focus on those tasks. Our next tip, detach and play. And it's very important to psychologically do that to yourselves. And what does that mean? At the end of the day, take breaks, be with your friends, your families, watch a movie, spend time with your pet, but detach from work. Break away from email, break away from text, Slack, anything else that might be bothering you. There's research that confirms that as you do that, you're getting a proper recovery for your brain and your mental stimulus for the next day. If you can't do that, you become fully absorbed in something and you can't completely detach from it, and it drags you down and basically eliminates the possibility of a recovery that you need every night when you go to bed. Take time to psychologically detach every day. Find times to play, do a hobby, spend time with your family, friends, pets, whatever it might be, but ensure that you're giving yourself the proper recovery for your brain so that it's focused for the next day. Our last tip, listen to brain music or listen to songs on repeat as much as possible. There's a book out there called How Music Plays the Mind. It's by a psychologist named Elizabeth Margolis. And she said that while listening to music on repeat, it allows your mind to avoid wandering and continues to give you more focus in terms of what you're working on and completing that task at hand. This blocks out, like we mentioned, mind wandering and allows you to complete the task that you really want to do. Take time to find that kind of music, whether it's classical, it could be rock, you name it, where you're focused on a certain set of music, either on repeat or certain songs that you know, so your brain is focused on that and training yourself to be more focused for a set amount of time. That concludes this double feature on how to become more productive or how to make your weeks more productive and save about 20 hours. Remember, not all the tips are for everyone, and people have unique circumstances where you have, whether it's your kids, your family, your spouse, your loved ones, your pets, that make it difficult to incorporate every one of these tips. That being said, there is a way to incorporate these tips or parts of them into your week. Take a moment to write down what you think you want to do and implement one or two to help improve your productivity. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.